Sometimes you spend your whole life doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. And I have always made things that I thought other people wanted. It's the first time where I'm making what I want to make. And then to have it, so well received has been really, really fantastic. Goes to show you, you're not too old to try something new.
Never. Never.
One of my earliest ones is copper nail. And that was really at the beginning of me going from quilt squares into doing my thing. And so that was really a portal piece. And to me, it may not look controlled to someone who's looking at it, but that if you look at that, that's much more of a kind of quilt sort of controlled piece in my mind. But that was definitely a portal piece. That was the beginning of me just saying, hey, I'm a middle-aged woman. I don't have much time. I better start doing what I want to do. I think really what kind of spurred me to stop doing what I thought I was supposed to do and start doing what, I needed to do for me really was the loss of almost losing my partner. So almost lost him in 2017. And it just makes you realize, up to that point, it was like, oh, we're still kids. We got all this time in front of us. And that was really like, oh my gosh, I can't just keep putting off what I feel like I need to do. One of my favorite descriptives is that it's a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, said that it was a modern day typography. And I really love that description because I do feel that I'm telling, even though they're abstract, I am trying to convey a story or a message. And it doesn't have to be exact. I want people to be able to bring their own ideas and history to the pieces. But they're not meant to just be devoid of meaning. They definitely have meaning. The small ones, I consider them more of a diary. They're much more about what I'm thinking that day or that week. The bigger pieces I live with for a long time. They're definitely, I just finished a piece called Still Life. And it is an all-white piece that is, it's one of my more literal pieces. It's an actual still life, a vase of flowers on a table. And that one I lived with for a while. That one started, my father passed away a year ago, and that's kind of when that one sort of took root. And then with what was happening with COVID, and that piece is about loss. So that piece I didn't start. So really I lived with it almost a year before I started that piece. So my larger pieces, and a lot of times the smaller ruminations that I call the 12 by 12s, sometimes I'll think through a larger concept. They may not look like a larger concept, but I might take one idea and just sort of play with it a little bit on the smaller pieces. But definitely the big pieces live with me for a while. I approach them in 3 different ways. So when I'm a piece, it's either a concept, like with 6 Feet Under, or this other piece I was talking about, Still Life, or it's a color. I just have this color in my mind, and I just want to work with those colors. And then the other is there'll be a piece. There's the piece that just I love. The one that's green. It's got it's all green with a dot. And I lived with that piece. It was such a great piece. I was almost scared to use it because it was such a beautiful piece, and I wanted to make sure I did it justice. So that is a rumination. That piece actually I lived with for a little while before I got the courage to actually paint it and use it. So those are the three ways. And typically, like this one, that I'm working on now, the spindles, the architectural spindles, was what I was attracted to, but it was a combination of that, and yes, I definitely wanted to do a yellow palette. So, a lot of times it's not just one of those three, it's obviously a combination of those three. Static was actually inspired by one of the smaller ruminations. It's the one that is kind of gray, yellow. It almost looks more like a stratified earth. And I really liked what was going on with the little pieces of wood. I just loved the texture. So that particular piece drove static. And sometimes it's funny too. Sometimes you're with the piece so much, and you're working and you're working and you're working, and when it's done, there's almost like a disappointment. It's almost like after Christmas, you look forward to it, and then it's over. And so like with static, it was funny because at first I was like, I was almost disappointed in it. But the funny thing is, sometimes you just have to step away and look at it with fresh eyes. And now it's actually one of my favorite pieces. I really love that piece. So, I think sometimes, it's you're in a relationship with what you're making, and it can be a love-hate thing. What drove the Taming of the Blue is that I had done Adirondack Nude, and I did the curtain. That's actually, in my mind, a curtain where the nude is halfway behind. And I loved that pattern. So I decided I needed to explore that pattern more. And that's where I took it to Taming of the Blue. And I loved that blue. And so for me, it was taking that vibrant, just take your breath away blue and sort of taming it with the pattern. Oh, there's one rumination that was a play with the colors for Bruised Sky. A lot of times I'll have a title even before I work on a piece, and the title will drive the piece. Other times I will name it after. That particular rumination, that really was more of a color study, and so I just kept it rumination, whatever number it was. And that was playing around with the purples and the colors. And also trying to figure out, again, Bruce Sky I had lived with for a long time. I had the title way before I figured out how I was going to visually bring that title to life. So I fell in love with Bruised Sky before I had any visual. And wood, just because, first off, I had a ready supply of it, and I do think there's this childlike familiarity with it. It's you make things with it. It's just like blocks or sticks, or there's just this immediate comfort with it. And it has, it's so different, different textures. It's willing to be shaped. It's a very forgiving and loving material. I guess that's what it is too. It's, I'm not just taking a medium and doing something with it. It's really, there are objects that I kind of have a relationship with, like that piece I told you about that I just was afraid to even do something with for a while. It took me a confidence because I just thought it was so beautiful. So there's more of a, I don't know, it just works for me. I've always been artistic. I've always, made stuff. It's just, and I think everybody's creative and everybody's artistic. I think we just, too early on, we say, you got to choose. And creativity, like music, is not something you should have to choose. You should always be able to sing, and you should always be able to create. It's what, brings out the best in humans. I think that's what, is the best part of us. A lot of times I'm hesitant to tell people exactly what I'm thinking, because then I feel like it takes a little bit of, once they know what I'm thinking, it kind of takes out the room for them to put themselves into it. So I won't reveal any more of my secrets.